There's a voice inside your head, and it never seems to shut up. It narrates your life. It analyzes every moment. It replays old conversations and creates future ones that haven't even happened. It doubts. It plans. It judges. It worries. And because it's always there, you've come to believe that voice is you. But what if it's not? What if the voice you've identified with your whole life isn't your truth, but your conditioning? What if the endless noise in your mind isn't your soul speaking, but your ego trying to keep control? Have you ever noticed that you can hear your thoughts, that there's a space behind the thinking where stillness lives? That space, that is you. Not the noise, not the panic, not the self-doubt. You are the one who hears it, the one who observes, the one who simply is. In this video, we're not here to fight your thoughts. We're here to remember what you are beneath them. It's time to stop confusing the voice with the self. Because the more you chase peace in the mind, the more you forget that you are the silence it rises from. There's a constant noise in your life, one so familiar that you've stopped questioning it, a voice that never seems to rest. It narrates your day, it judges your actions, it compares, worries, plans, fantasizes. And somewhere along the way, you were taught to believe, that voice is me. But what if that voice isn't? What if the stream of thoughts in your head, no matter how personal, how emotional, how convincing, is not your true self, but just a layer of noise passing through you? Have you ever paused and noticed your thoughts without judgment? Watched them swirl, rise and fall like waves? Have you ever had a thought that surprised you, disturbed you, or made no sense, and thought, why did I even think that? That's the first clue. The fact that you can observe your thoughts means you are not your thoughts. The fact that there's a space where you notice them means there's a deeper you, the awareness behind the voice. This is the beginning of remembering who you are. The mind is brilliant, a sacred instrument, but it was never meant to lead. It was never meant to define you. It was designed to process experience, not to become your identity. But over time, the mind became loud, and the awareness, your essence, became quiet. You were trained to worship thought, to trust logic, to analyze, to label, to judge. And slowly, the mind became a dictator, and the soul, forgotten. This is not your fault. This is how the world was built, to favor noise over stillness, complexity over presence. But your deeper self never left. It's still there, in the space between thoughts, in the silence you glimpse just before falling asleep, in the stillness that watches your chaos without judgment. The voice in your head is a collection of everything you've ever absorbed: family, society, teachers, trauma, culture, fear. It's a loop of rehearsed responses, old beliefs, inherited limitations. It feels like you, but it's not. It's a mask, a habit, and like all habits, it can be unlearned. But first, you must stop believing everything you think. You must stop confusing mental noise with inner truth, because the mind will say anything to stay in control, even if it hurts you. It will judge your joy. It will doubt your intuition. It will replay pain over and over like a song stuck on repeat. Have you noticed how your thoughts can be at war with your body? How your soul pulls in one direction, and the mind invents reasons not to follow? That's because the mind is terrified of surrender. It wants certainty, control, familiarity. But your soul, it wants expansion. And expansion begins where thought ends, in awareness. So what's the way back? It starts with noticing, not fixing, not fighting, just noticing. Begin by asking, who is hearing this thought? Who is watching this story unfold in my mind? Is this thought true or just familiar? When you bring curiosity instead of judgment, something shifts. You step out of the movie and into the seat of the observer. And in that space, something miraculous happens. You begin to feel the difference between the voice and the self, between noise and knowing, between reaction and truth. The voice may keep talking, but it no longer runs the show. because now you are listening from somewhere deeper. That deeper place is not interested in drama, in fear, in perfection. It simply is. It is still, spacious, unshakable. It doesn't need to convince anyone of anything, because it knows. That is who you are, not the thought, not the chatter, not the noise. You are the silence that watches it all rise and fall, untouched. And as we begin this journey together, know this. You don't need to silence the mind to be free. You only need to stop mistaking it for you. Why the mind talks so much? The mind talks so much because it is always trying to understand, analyze, and predict. Its constant activity comes from its deep-rooted desire to protect you, to make sense of the world around you, and to keep you in a state of control. It is as though the mind believes that if it talks enough, if it processes enough, it will have the power to prevent the unexpected, to avoid chaos, and to keep you from danger. But here's the paradox. The more the mind talks, the less you are able to truly hear yourself. The mind's constant chatter can block the deeper awareness that exists underneath all the noise. It's as if you've been conditioned to trust the mind above all else, to believe that it holds the answers. It tells you who you should be, what you should do, and how you should feel. But in reality, this relentless chatter is often a barrier, a distraction from your true essence. The mind, though brilliant and essential, is not meant to control you. It is a tool designed for survival, not a ruler over your identity. But over time, it has evolved to fill every moment with thoughts, to keep you constantly engaged in the noise of the world. Why? Because the mind is terrified of silence. When there is stillness, the mind feels vulnerable. It doesn't know what to do with the quiet because in that space, there is no control, no predictability. It is the unknown. And the mind's job is to keep you within the boundaries of what is known, familiar, and safe. So it fills the silence with thoughts, with narratives, with judgments, all in an effort to maintain control. But in doing so, it robs you of your true nature. It convinces you that you are the thoughts in your head, that you are the story it is constantly telling. It blurs the line between who you truly are and who you think you are based on what the mind says. The truth is, you are not the thoughts. You are the awareness that listens to them. The mind talks so much because it is afraid of what happens when it stops. It fears the stillness that comes with truly being present. And the more it talks, the further it pulls you away from your true self, from your inner peace. The key to understanding why the mind talks so much is to recognize that it is not your identity. The mind is a tool, not a truth. The more you identify with it, the more you allow it to define you, the more you become lost in the noise. But when you remember that you are not the thoughts, you begin to reclaim your power. It's time to stop allowing the mind to control the narrative. You are the one who hears the thoughts. You are the one who notices them without getting lost in them. And when you can step back and simply observe the mind without attachment, you'll find the silence that lies underneath. In that silence, you will rediscover who you truly are. Not the thoughts, not the judgments, but the awareness that watches it all, calm, still, and at peace. The mind will continue to talk. It's in its nature. But it no longer needs to define you. You are the one who listens, the one who observes. And that space, that awareness, is where true freedom lies. In this space of awareness, you are able to let the mind chatter without being consumed by it. You can hear the noise without allowing it to dictate your reality. You can feel the stillness beneath the surface, and in doing so, you begin to reconnect with your true essence, the part of you that is untouched by the constant mental noise. So, why does the mind talk so much? It's not because it knows the truth, but because it's afraid of the unknown. It speaks to keep you in a place of control, to keep you safe, but ultimately, it only serves to distance you from the peace and freedom that await when you stop identifying with the chatter. The mind will always have something to say, but the key is to stop identifying with it. Stop letting it define you. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And once you realize this, the mind's chatter will no longer hold the same power over you. You'll be able to live from a place of stillness, clarity, and inner peace, regardless of the noise around you. Have you ever stopped to listen to the voice in your head, constantly narrating your life? The moment you wake up, it begins. The commentary on your actions, your thoughts, your feelings. It analyzes, critiques, justifies. It tells you who you should be, what you should be doing, and how everything should unfold. Every action is assigned meaning, every emotion is labeled, and every experience becomes part of a greater narrative that the mind is constantly creating. But why? Why does the mind feel the need to narrate everything? Why must every moment be explained, categorized, and understood? The answer lies in the ego, that voice that constantly shapes and defines your reality. The ego's need to narrate comes from its deep-rooted desire to control and make sense of everything. The ego doesn't like uncertainty. It fears the unknown. And so, it fills the silence of the present moment with stories, judgments, and labels. It builds a world where everything is defined, where you know who you are and what everything means. In a world of constant narration, there's no room for chaos, confusion, or the messiness of real life. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of a simple conversation, only to notice your mind already planning the next one? Or how it ruminates over something you said hours ago, replaying every word, every gesture, trying to understand what it really meant? That's the ego at work. It cannot simply experience life. It needs to define it, analyze it, and make it fit into a story. The ego does this because it believes that if it can narrate everything, if it can control the narrative, then it can maintain its sense of security and identity. The ego needs to feel like it's in charge, like it understands what's happening. But in doing so, it locks you into a limited perspective. The ego thrives on control. It thrives on certainty. But true life, true awareness, is not bound by certainty. Life is full of ambiguity, unpredictability, and complexity. The mind, however, tries to make it neat, to reduce it to understandable stories. It does this by constantly filling the gaps with words, explanations, and judgments. Think about the stories you've told yourself about who you are. How often do you define yourself by your past, your mistakes, or your achievements? How often do you judge your worth based on the narrative the ego creates? The ego is the storyteller, and it often weaves a tale that keeps you trapped in cycles of judgment, comparison, and limitation. It defines you based on your experiences, your thoughts, and your beliefs. It doesn't allow you to simply be, to exist without the pressure of a story. But here's the reality. You are not the story the ego tells you. You are the awareness that observes the story. The ego's job is to narrate, but your true self is the listener, the observer. The more you identify with it, the more you allow it to define you, the more you become lost in its noise. But when you remember that you are not the thoughts, you begin to reclaim your power. The more you separate yourself from the ego's narration, the more you begin to live from a place of stillness and clarity. The stories the ego tells are not your essence. They are the noise that distracts you from the deeper truth of who you are, the awareness, the presence, the consciousness that observes it all without attachment. The mind will continue to narrate. It's in its nature, but it no longer needs to define you. You are the one who listens, the one who observes. And that space, that awareness, is where true freedom lies. Have you ever stopped to wonder, what is the difference between thought and awareness? Every day, your mind generates a continuous stream of thoughts, and most of the time, you don't even question them. They come and go, sometimes feeling like they define you, sometimes feeling like they are your reality. You identify with them so deeply that you believe they are the truth of who you are. But here's the key. Your thoughts are not you. Thoughts are temporary. They come, they go, and they leave no lasting mark unless you identify with them. They are like clouds that drift through the sky, sometimes heavy, sometimes light, but always changing. Awareness, on the other hand, is still. It is the vast sky that holds the clouds. It is constant, unaffected by the passing thoughts. So how do you recognize the difference between thought and awareness? It starts by realizing that the two are not the same. Thoughts are the mind's way of interpreting the world, but awareness is the observer. Thoughts are transient. Awareness is eternal. When you begin to observe your thoughts without getting entangled in them, you start to separate your true self from the noise of the mind. You begin to see that the thoughts you have are not necessarily your truth. They are just ideas passing through, influenced by external experiences, emotions, and past conditioning. Think about it. How many times have you had a thought that you later realized wasn't true? Or how many times have you had a thought that didn't align with your deeper sense of self? Those moments are clues that you are not the thought. You are the one who notices it. You are the awareness that observes it without judgment. It's important to understand that thoughts are not inherently good or bad. They are simply the mind's attempt to make sense of the world. But they become problematic when we begin to identify with them. When we believe that every thought is a reflection of our true self, we give power to the mind to control our reality. So, how do you begin to recognize the difference between thought and awareness? Start by practicing mindfulness. Become aware of your thoughts without judgment. Notice when a thought arises and simply observe it. Ask yourself, is this thought my truth? Is it mine to hold on to? With practice, you'll begin to create a space between you and your thoughts. You'll notice that you are the one who is aware of the thought, not the thought itself. This is the first step toward recognizing the difference between thought and awareness. Once you start to make this distinction, you'll find that thoughts lose their power over you. You won't be as easily swept away by worry, doubt, or fear. Instead, you'll remain anchored in the awareness that is always present, always still, always clear. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that holds them. And when you begin to live from this place of awareness, life takes on a whole new meaning. You become free from the tyranny of the mind, free to live in the present moment without the constant need to label, define, or explain everything. The next time you find yourself caught in a thought, take a step back and simply notice it. Recognize that you are the awareness that sees the thought, not the thought itself. And in that moment, you'll find peace, clarity, and a deeper connection to your true self. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the constant noise in your mind? The racing thoughts, the endless planning, the judgments that flood your mind, and the worries that seem to never let up. It's like you're living in a storm of mental noise, unable to find any quiet. And because it's always there, it's easy to assume that this noise is just part of who you are. But what if it doesn't have to be this way? What if you could create distance from the noise and reconnect with the stillness beneath it? The truth is, you don't have to live trapped by your thoughts. You don't have to let the mind control your reality. In fact, the more you identify with the mental noise, the more power you give it. But the moment you start to recognize that you are not your thoughts, you begin to create space between you and the noise. This space is where true freedom lies. Creating distance from mental noise is not about silencing the mind or trying to stop the thoughts altogether. The mind will continue to generate thoughts. That is its nature. What you can do, however, is shift your relationship with those thoughts. Instead of being swept away by every thought that comes your way, you begin to observe them with awareness and detachment. You recognize them as passing clouds, not as your identity. How do you start creating this distance? It begins with awareness. Start by noticing when your mind is in overdrive. Pay attention to the patterns of thinking that dominate your mental landscape. Are there specific thoughts or themes that keep coming up? Are you constantly rehashing the past or worrying about the future? These are the areas where the mind is holding on to control. Once you become aware of these patterns, you can begin to practice letting go. You don't need to engage with every thought that arises. In fact, you don't even need to follow the story the mind is trying to tell. Instead, simply observe. Notice how the thoughts come and go without attachment, without judgment. You are not the thought. You are the one who observes the thought. This subtle shift is the beginning of creating distance from the mental noise. Another powerful way to create distance is through mindfulness practices. Mindfulness is the art of being present in the moment, fully aware of your surroundings, your body, and your breath. By anchoring yourself in the present moment, you naturally create space between you and the mental noise. You stop identifying with the endless chatter in your head and begin to experience life directly, without the filter of the mind. When you practice mindfulness, you start to realize that your thoughts are not as important as you once believed. You begin to understand that your true self is not the story the mind is constantly telling. Your true self is the awareness that can step back and observe the mind without becoming lost in it. As you create more distance from the mental noise, you'll notice a shift. You'll find that your mind feels less overwhelming, less chaotic. The constant mental chatter will no longer dictate your reality. Instead, you'll be able to access a place of stillness, a quiet space that has always been there beneath the surface of your thoughts. This is the space of awareness, of presence, where you can reconnect with your true self. The more you practice creating distance from the mental noise, the more you'll experience peace and clarity. Life will no longer feel like a series of distractions and endless thoughts. Instead, you'll experience it as a flow of moments, each one unfolding naturally, without the need for constant commentary from the mind. In this space of stillness, you'll find that your thoughts don't define you. You are not at the mercy of the noise in your head. You are the awareness that sees the noise, but is not disturbed by it. And as you cultivate this awareness, you begin to live with a deeper sense of freedom, peace, and connection to your true self. Do you ever wonder where the stillness went? As life becomes faster, louder, and more demanding, it's easy to lose touch with that quiet, peaceful part of yourself, the one that was always there, beneath the surface of your thoughts, waiting to be remembered. The mind becomes chaotic, filled with worries, distractions, and endless chatter, and in the process, the inner stillness feels distant. But what if I told you that stillness has never left? It's always been there, just waiting for you to return. Returning to your inner stillness is not about finding a quiet place outside of yourself. It's not about escaping the noise of the world. It's about reconnecting with the stillness that exists within you, no matter what is happening around you. It's about recognizing that beneath the surface of the mind's chatter, there is a calm center, a place of peace, of clarity, of pure presence. How do you return to that stillness? It begins with letting go of the constant need to control, judge, or label everything. The mind wants to define everything, to create stories, to assign meaning, to find a solution to every problem. But when you step back from the mind's incessant need to analyze, you begin to touch something deeper. The stillness is not something you need to chase or grasp. It's not a destination. It's a state of being, and it's always present, even in the midst of chaos. To return to it, you simply need to let go of the noise and come back to the present moment. Start by focusing on your breath. Breathing is the simplest and most powerful tool to reconnect with the present. When you bring your awareness to your breath, you anchor yourself in the now. You stop identifying with the past or the future, and you return to the only moment that truly exists, this one. The more you focus on your breath, the more you begin to notice the stillness that lies beneath the surface of your thoughts. Another way to return to your inner stillness is through mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches you to observe the world without judgment. It encourages you to experience life as it is, without the filter of the mind. When you practice mindfulness, you become more attuned to the quiet moments, the spaces between thoughts, the natural rhythm of life. These moments of awareness are where your true self resides, beyond the chatter, beyond the judgments, beyond the stories. Stillness also comes from self-acceptance. When you stop fighting with yourself, when you stop trying to be someone you're not or living according to someone else's expectations, you open the door to inner peace. The more you accept yourself exactly as you are, with all your imperfections, your fears, and your desires, the more you align with the stillness within. You no longer need to prove anything or seek validation. You are enough, just as you are. But what about when the noise feels overwhelming? What if the mind won't stop racing? In those moments, remember this: stillness is not the absence of thoughts, it's the space between them. You don't need to stop your thoughts from arising. Instead, you can simply observe them without attachment. Let the thoughts come and go, knowing that you are not defined by them. You are the one who witnesses them, and in that awareness, you reclaim your stillness. Returning to your inner stillness also requires patience and practice. It's easy to get caught up in the noise, especially when life gets overwhelming. But the more you practice returning to stillness, the more natural it becomes. You begin to realize that no matter how loud the mind gets, there is always a deeper place of calm you can return to. That calm is always within you, ready to be accessed whenever you need it. As you cultivate this stillness, you'll notice how life begins to flow more smoothly. You'll stop feeling like you're constantly reacting to external circumstances, and instead, you'll move through life with a sense of peace and purpose. The noise of the mind will no longer have the same grip on you. You'll be able to face challenges with clarity, make decisions from a place of wisdom, and experience life with a sense of ease. Returning to your inner stillness isn't about escaping the world. It's about reconnecting with the part of you that is always calm, always centered, always at peace. It's about realizing that no matter what happens in the external world, you have the power to return to the stillness within. And in that stillness, you will find everything you need: clarity, peace, and a deeper connection to your true self. As you journey through life, it's easy to get swept up in the whirlwind of thoughts, emotions, and distractions. The noise of the world and the constant chatter of your mind can feel like they define you, like they are the core of your existence. But what if I told you that all this noise is not who you are? What if the true essence of who you are lies not in the chaos, but in the stillness beneath it? You are not the thoughts that race through your mind. You are not the judgments, the worries, or the endless stream of mental chatter. These are just passing clouds in the sky of your consciousness. You are the sky itself, vast, still, and ever-present. The truth is, your true nature is silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of presence. It's the space that allows all things to exist. It is the awareness that observes everything, without becoming attached or disturbed by it. It is the peace that resides beneath the noise, always available, always present, even when you are surrounded by chaos. This silence is not something you have to create. It's not something you need to search for. It's always there, waiting for you to remember it. The more you let go of the mental noise, the more you begin to reconnect with this stillness. The more you detach from the ego's need to narrate everything, the more you can experience the peace that has always been within you. When you stop identifying with the thoughts, you start to see that they are just thoughts. They are not you. They are temporary, fleeting, and ultimately inconsequential in the grand scheme of your true nature. Your true nature is the silence that witnesses them, the awareness that is present with them but does not get lost in them. In this silence, you find your true power. You find clarity, peace, and an unshakable sense of who you are. You are not the noise. You are the awareness that holds it all, the stillness that allows everything to unfold. When you realize that you are the silence beneath the noise, everything changes. You begin to live from a place of deep inner peace, unaffected by the fluctuations of the mind or the chaos of the world. You begin to see the world with new eyes as a vast, beautiful expression of life, not something to control or judge, but something to experience with presence. So let go of the need to control the noise. Stop fighting the thoughts. Instead, return to the silence that is always there, beneath the surface. You are the awareness that observes the thoughts. You are the stillness that watches the chaos come and go. And in that silence, you are free. You are at peace. As you continue on this journey, remember this: you are the silence beneath the noise. You are the stillness that holds everything together. And in that space of stillness, you find the truth of who you are.